Namaste. My name is Dr. P. Ramadevi, a Kuchipudi exponent from Hyderabad. Today I am going to explain you the Kuchipudi dance tradition and the greatest format of Bhama Kalapa. First, let us know what is this Kuchipudi dance. You all know that there are 9 classical dance forms that are recognized by Government of India. They are Bharatanatyam, Kuchipudi, Kathak, Kathakali, Mohiniyattam, Odissi, Manipuri, Satriya and Cha. These 9 dance forms got the stature because they follow the Natya Shastra and other Shastras, regional Shastras. That's why they are known as classical dance forms. Now let us see, each dance form belongs to one state, isn't it? So this Kuchipudi dance belongs to Andhra Pradesh. Before it was only one state, recently it is divided into Telangana and Andhra Pradesh. But both land speaks, it's a Telugu language and it's a Telugu land. So this Kuchipudi dance tradition belongs to Telugu land. When we see the name of Kuchipudi dance tradition, from where did this name Kuchipudi got? It is a name of a village in Andhra Pradesh, in Krishna district. You must be knowing or heard about Vijayawada. Okay, Kuchipudi is very close to Vijayawada, and there is a very big port called Machilipatnam, Bandar, these all. And historically, all these places, Ghantasala, Mova, all these Bauddhic importance place, it was very historically, culturally rich place, this Krishna district is. So, this Kuchipudi village is between the Machilipatnam and Vijayawada. Okay, full of green, fertile land. Okay, so it is called as Agraharam because Agraharam means exclusively Brahmin men lived there. Such place is known as Agraharam. So this Agraharam was not having the name Kuchipudi before. The name of this Agraharam was variously mentioned. You know, there are so many places in our India. In olden days, it was even in the Mumbai, whatever you take, the names were replaced, changed later. So like that, this village was also initially known was Kuchannapudi. There was a Brahmin priest called Kuchanna, and there is a self-manifested Ramalingeshwara Swami idol, and he was a great devotee of Ramalingeshwara, and he used to worship Ramalingeshwara Swami with great devotion, and later slowly that area was known after him as Kuchanna, and slowly it became Kuchipudi. This is one version. But as a scholar or a research person, we have to believe the second version. That is Kushilavapuri. It was known as Kushilavapuri. Kushilavas, the name Kushilavas means we have the reference in Natya Shastra. In the last chapter, when Bharata was explaining about the various characters, he mentioned about the Kushilavas who are well versed with music, dance and instruments. So, they were known as Kushilavas. These people, these Brahmins, were expert in music, dance and instruments. So, these people were known as Kushilavas, and the place where the Kushilavas were living, hence it was called as Kushilavapuri, which slowly changed into Kuchipudi dance. So, these are the two versions that the name of the village, what it was, which became Kuchipudi. I hope you understood that. Now we will move on to the historical evidences when you see a tradition, it is not just came up now. Especially this Kuchipudi dance tradition, we have references very, very ancient time. Even in Natya Shastra, Bharata explained that the Andhra region people are fond of music, dance, and instruments. And Kaishiki Vritti you will find more in the Andhra region. When he was talking about the pravrittis, Bharata divided the entire Bharata Khanda into 4 regions, that is pravrittis. So this is Dakshinatya, the southern part. Here, especially in Andhra region, almost the south was known as Andhra. So it was, the people are fond of music, dance, and instruments. So we have references from Natya Shastra. And if you see the last chapter of Natya Shastra, Natya Avatarana, so descending of Natya onto the earth, the Bharathaputras, when they got cursed from various sages that they should be born on the earth, they were sent to the earth in the Nahusha's region. So the Nahusha's kingdom was spread over north to south. So various scholars have proved that the descendants of Bharata were occupied in north and the south. So the Kathakars, what we call them now Kathak dance, they and the Kuchipudi Bhagavatulu are the descendants of Bharataputras. Okay, so from there, when the Muslims invaded our country and people dispersed and spread over. Okay, so that is from there we have the evidences that Kuchipudi Bhagavatulu exist. In Andhra region, dance developed in 2 ways. One is called as Natya Mela, the second one is called as Nattuva Mela. Mela means what? A group. Okay, the first dance group that was created was in the heaven. Bharata Muni, along with his 100 sons and the 24 Apsarasas, he created. The troupe is not only dancers or the actors, it is the musicians, Narada, Tambura, Gandharvas, all the entire troupe, the divine troupe was created in the heaven. Bharata created that. So like that, here also in Andhra Pradesh, there are 2 troupes. That is Natya Mela and Nattuva Mela. You know what is Natya? In Abhinay Darpana, Nandikeshwara says, Natyam tan natakam chaiva pujyam purva kathayutam. That means Natyam tan natakam chaiva. It is a drama. Natakam it is. Pujyam purva kathayutam. Purva katha. What is already happened. Those stories are depicted in the Natya. And Kuchipudi dance belongs to the Natya tradition. It is only the recent, after 1930 or 40, the solo system is emerged in this Kuchipudi dance tradition. So, the Natya Mela means the only Brahmin men forming into a troupe and performing the stories of God. They are known as Natya Mela. What is the Nattuva Mela? Nattuva Mela is in the temple, in the sanctum sanctorium, the dance which is offered as offering, as a puja, because in Agama Shastra, dance, music and instruments are a part of offering, a part of puja. That's why we hear Natyam Samarpayami, Vadyam Samarpayami, Geetam Samarpayami. Okay, so for this purpose, the Devadasis are appointed in the temple. They dedicate their life in the service of God. That's why they are called as Devadasis. Initially, it was only in the sanctum sanctorium they used to perform for the rituals. Slowly, they came on to the Balipeetam, and slowly they moved to the king's court and all. That is, we are not touching that part at all. I am just mentioning you what is Natya Mela and what is Nattuva Mela. So, in Andhra, inside the temple, the Devadasis used to perform, and outside the temple for the common people to entertain, and through the entertain to educate them, or to give them more knowledge about our the Vedas, Puranas and Itihasas. These Brahmin troupe used to perform dramas, selecting the stories from Ramayana, Mahabharata, Bhagavata, all this from this. So that troupe is called as Natya Mela. When you see the Kuchipudi Bhagavatalu, they used to perform Shivalila Natya because they are Shaivites. They were staunch devotees of Shiva. When you see in the 4th, 5th century, they used to perform Shivalila Natyam. When the Bhakti movement started, the Muslims invaded our country and they demolished the temples, our puja, temple, everything was stopped. Then to bring back the bhakti into the people, there was a big movement called Bhakti movement started. You know, Madhvacharya, all these people, even Jayadeva's Gita Govinda, which was written, was a big storm among the not only dancers, even the composers, writers. It was a great inspiration. And they started, by the time Madhvacharya, he established the Udupi Matham, and he started the Krishna cult there. And Jayadeva's Gita Govinda was also on Krishna. So Krishna became very famous, the god. So Vishnu stories were performed. That was known as Bhagavata Mela. So the propagation of bhakti, the responsibility of spreading the awareness of bhakti or Hinduism was taken over by the Brahmins, and they formed as a troupe. I mean, already the troupe was there, only they adopted these stories and they started performing. Slowly it was known as Bhagavata Mela Natakam. So by 12th century, the Kuchipudi Bhagavatalu from Shivalila Natyam, they were performing Vishnu Leela Natyam and Shivalila Natyam, both. And they were slowly, this Bhagavatalu they were called because they are performing the stories from Bhagavata, hence they were called as Bhagavatalu. And it is in 13th century, Siddhendra Yogi, who is considered as the father of Kuchipudi dance tradition, he is a same Krishna Bhakta. He came from Udupi, and he came to, in Andhra, there is a temple called Andhra Mahavishnu Temple in Srishaila. It is very close to Kuchipudi village. So he came there along with his guru Narahari Tirtha. So Siddhendra Yogi was the disciple of Narahari Tirtha, who got trained at Udupi Matha. When he wrote, and he was scholar in all the Shastras, and he was very known, or very he has tremendous knowledge in Natya Shastra also. So he wrote a Parijata Paharna. By the time Nanditimmana and all wrote the Parijata Paharna, in Andhra region especially, the Parijata Paharanam was very hit. So many people wrote like Nanditimmana, they wrote the Parijata Paharana story, and Siddhendra Yogi also wrote, and he came and he heard about the Kuchipudi Bhagavatalu and he taught them. So they say that Siddhendra Yogi was born in Kuchipudi Bhagavatala family. He was an orphan, and at a young, tender age, he was married to a young girl, Later, when they realized his talent, like he was Ekasandagrahi, whatever the dramas elders were performing, he used to just watch and immediately he used to sing and dance and deliver the dialogues and all. Because Natya, the singing, Vachikabhana is very important. They have to render the dialogues and sing the padyams and all. And Siddhendra was known as Siddhappa, his name was. So when they realized his talent, that he is very talented one, he's Ekasandagrahi. So they requested Narahari Tirtha to take him along with him to Udupi and give him education. So along with the Narahari Tirtha, he went to Udupi and he mastered in all the Shastras and he came back. That is another version. So they consider him as the father of Kuchipudi dance. Why also I am going to tell. Now, any dance tradition or anything we talk, we need evidences, isn't it? So, for Kuchipudi dance tradition, the proof we have from 14th century. Okay, in 14th century, there is a farman called Machipalli Kaifiyat. This Machupalli Kaifiyat explains us that in that 14th century, when Veer Narasimha Rayalu was ruling, there is another place called Siddhavatam also. So Veer Narasimha Rayalu was the chief king. Under him there were so many Samanta Rajas are there. Okay, and the royal dynasty was very fond of art and culture. So once Veera Narasimha Rayalu gave an invitation to this Bhagavatulu to come to Hampi and show their dance tradition. On their invitation, on the royal invitation, a troop started from Kuchipudi and they were going to Hampi. On the way, they came to a place called Siddhavatam. The Siddhavatam, that region was ruled by Sambeta Guruvaraju. His name was Sambeta Guruvaraju, who was very cruel person. His duty was collecting the taxes. So whoever is not paying the tax, you know what he used to do? He never used to punish the men. See his sadism. He used to put latches on the wives of the tax defaulters and he used to drag them onto the streets. And people were so scared of him, they never, felt like going and complaining to the king. They didn't have that guts. When the Kuchipudi Bhagavatulu came to Siddhavatam and saw the atrocity of Veera Narasimha Rayalu, they decided, this we have to bring it to Veera Narasimha Rayalu's notice, the king's notice. They decided. So, after reaching the Rayalu's court, the performance was organized in the main court, in the main sabha, where the royal queen and other parivara was watching, everybody together. So they say that if they were performing the Bhama Kalapam or they were performing a Kelika, Kelika means then a drama. Okay, so in that they depicted this story as a Kelika. They choreographed, like one person as a Guruvaraju and people and dragging the woman onto the street and all. Then Veera Narasimha Rayalu got very annoyed and said, how can people behave like this? Then the Kuchipudi Bhagavatam said, this is happening in your kingdom, King Maharaja. The Siddhavatam Guruvaraju, Sabbata Guruvaraju is punishing the innocent people like this. Then Veera Narasimha Rayalu got angry and he gave an order to chop the Sembata Guruvaraju's neck and he gave moksham to his people. So in this Machupalli Kaifiyat Farman order, it is written that this Kuchipudi Bhagavatalu performed in Veera Narasimha Rayalu's court and they depicted the story of Siddhavatam Sambata Guruvaraju, and they helped in, that is the purpose of dance. Dance is not just mere entertainment. With the dance, with the drama, we have to do some nice things, and it should communicate some message to the people who are watching. So this is the first evidences we have. As I said, the second evidence, it is the Nayaka kings. Vijayanagara Nayaka king, the most eminent Sri Krishna Devaraya, who wrote Amukta in Srikakulam Andhra Mahavishnu temple. His favorite deity was Andhra Mahavishnu. So he stayed there and he wrote Amukta in Telugu. His wife once asked Sri Krishna Devaraya, "You are so well versed in Sanskrit. Why you want to write in Telugu?" He said, "Deshabhashalandu Telugu lessa." Telugu is a sweet language. That's why I can put my expressions in much better way than the Sanskrit. And he wrote in Telugu. So, when Sri Krishna Devaraya came to Srikakulam, he came to know about the Kuchipudi Bhagavatulu, and he invited these Bhagavatulu to perform the Taikonda Natakam in his court. After the performance, this Kuchipudi Bhagavatulu went there and they performed. After performing, they gave, the king gave him so many gifts and all. With all the gifts, they came back, it seems. That is the, even in the Amukta Malyada, Sri Krishna Devaraya has mentioned a word, Brukum Suvulu. Brukum Suvulu means men donning the female character and acting as a woman. Even in the Natya Shastra, Bharata has explained Rupa, Anurupa, Rupa, Anurupa. So in that also it is there. So here the Sanskrit word Brukum Suvulu means that. And in Andhra region, it was only the Kuchipudi Bhagavatulu who used to dance in the disguise of a woman, a man in the disguise of a woman, portraying all the female characters. Because in the Bhagavata Mela, the women were not allowed. Why? Even in the Kuchipudi Dan Bhagavata Mela also, they were not. You know, Melatur Bhagavata Mela, Tanjavur also it is there. Because this troupe is created to propagate bhakti. They never used to stay at one place. They used to go from one place to another. So, in those days, in 13th or 12th, 13th, 14th century, you know, transport was not that easy. So, it was not safe for the men to take the woman along with them. So, only because of the safety, they avoided women and they themselves portrayed the character of female characters and they performed the dramas. So, that is the reason. So, these Kuchipudi Bhagavatulu were mentioned in Amukta Malyada, which is written by Sri Krishna Devaraya. The third evidence we have is Abul Hasan Tanisha, who was the Nawab of Golconda. You know, by 16th century, the entire Andhra region was ruled by Mughal empires. So, Abul Hasan Tanisha, once he came to Machilipatnam, which I mentioned before, it was a harbor and there was more scope for the, enemies to enter into the kingdom. So, always like how Kashmir border is protected by our soldiers, even Abul Hasan Tanisha's soldiers were protecting that area. Sometimes he, along with this entire troop, the king used to go there and stay there and find out how the things are moving on. So once when Abul Hasan Tanisha went to Machilipatnam, he stayed at Kuchipudi. And he heard the songs and dance, gunguru sounds from the temple. You know that Ramalingeshwara Swami, who is the deity of the Kuchipudi Bhagavatulu. Then Abul Hasan Tanisha said, I want to watch their performance. And he sent a word. Then Kuchipudi Bhagavatul also felt, yeah, this is a golden opportunity for us to perform in front of our king and satisfy him. So they went and they performed the Bhama Kalapam in front of Abul Hasan Tanisha. He was very happy and he gave the entire village of 600 acres of land to 9 that time existing family in the Kuchipudi village. So when they received the village, the entire village as gift, they thought, okay, now from now onwards we will be naming our dance tradition as Kuchipudi Bhagavatam. So the name of Kuchipudi started knowing, the tradition was known as Kuchipudi Bhagavatam since then, from 16th century. Now, when we come back to the development of Kuchipudi dance tradition, as I said, it was initially Sanskrit Rupakas they were performing after the Natya Shastra was written. Then they were performing the Shivalila Natyam. Then they were performing the Bhagavata Mela Natakam. Then when Siddhendra Yogi wrote the Bhama Kalapam and taught the Kuchipudi Bhagavatalu, they were performing the Bhama Kalapam. Then in early 18th century, Bhagavatala Ramaya Garu wrote Golla Kalapam. This is another famous Kalapam. That was, they were performing. Later in the early 19th century, Chinta Venkatramaya Garu brought Kuchipudi Yakshaganas into Kuchipudi dance tradition. Then Vedantam Lakshminarayana Shastri Garu brought solo dance systems, and Vempati Chinnasatyam Garu brought Nritya Natikas. So you can see in Kuchipudi dance tradition the Vidhi Natakam, Pagati Veshas also were there, and Kelikas, Kalapas, Yakshaganas, Nritya Natikas, and solo dance systems. 7 kinds of dance traditions are there in Kuchipudi dance. Okay, now we are going to, I'm going to explain you the Bhama Kalapam. As I said, the Bhama Kalapam is written by, 1 minute. Bhama Kalapam was written by Siddhendra Yogi, and the script is not available, but what we are performing now is a modification of Vedantam Parvatisham Garu. In his dream, Siddhendra Yogi appeared and told him to modify and fill up the gaps in the Bhama Kalapam, because there was no text. It was orally transmitted from one guru to another guru. It was transmitted from one guru to another, generation to generation. So there was no particular script was there. So it was rewritten by Vedantam Parvatisham Garu, and we are following that script. Now in Bhama Kalapam, it is Kalapa means an argument, or it is a conversation between 1 or 2 characters. Okay, when you see the Natya Shastra, Bharata has explained the Rupakas, the 10 kinds of Rupakas. This Kalapa tradition, the Kalapa Prakriya, resembles to the Vidhi and Bhana type of Rupakas. And when you see the Uparupakas, it has the resemblance of Sri Gadita. Whatever it is, in the Bhama Kalapam, there are 3 main characters, that is Satyabhama, Krishna and Madhavi. You all know Madhavi and Krishna, Satyabhama and Krishna. Krishna has 8 wives. Satyabhama is the second one, Rukmini, Jambavati, all are there, Lakshmana, all those. So, the third character is not the real character. It is the Maya character. Siddhendra Yogi wrote this Bhama Kalapam. As I said, every drama should convey a message to the people. So through his Bhama Kalapam, Siddhendra Yogi wants to convey the message that we all are Jivatmas. We have to forgo our egos, pride, and everything and surrender at the feet of the Paramatma, who is the Krishna, ultimate God. And your soul should yearn to unite with the Paramatma. That should be your goal in life. So he took Satyabhama. He did not take Rukmini or any other wives of Krishna. Why? Because Satyabhama was very proud and possessive woman. So he took her as the Nayika and Krishna was the Nayaka. So in the story, what we are performing nowadays in Kuchipudi, the Bhama Kalapam is totally different. But when even the Parvati Shamgari script or the original script you take of Parijata Bharanam, it will be like Narada bringing the flower to create a fight. Okay, because he is Kalahapriya. So he gives that flower when Krishna was with Rukmini, and he tells, this is the divine flower, you can give it to whomever you love the more, the wife. So naturally he was sitting with Rukmini, so he gives the flower to Rukmini. When Satyabhama comes to know that the divine flower was given to Rukmini, she gets annoyed. So then she fights with Krishna. This is what is there. But what we are performing is, it starts with the Satyabhama coming in search of Krishna. Okay, like an Abhisarika, she comes. And Kuchipudi Kalapas or Yakshagana, if you see, it is full of Deshi Chandas. And the Daruvus, which are explained as Dhruvaganas in the Natya Shastra. In Natya Shastra, Bharata has explained 5 kinds of Dhruvaganas. But later, there are so many other kinds of Dharuvus included into the Kalapas and Yakshaganas. So, the character Satyabhama is coming and there will be a Padyam. And in Kuchipudi, Vachika Abhinaya, as it is drama tradition, Natya belongs to Natya tradition, every dancer should know Carnatic music because they have to sing and they have to render the dialogues. They will be singing the Padyams. They have to sing their own. And the dialogues also they have to render. Even the Darvus also, initially they have to sing, then it will be taken over by Sutradhari and Paripashikas. And when you see the Kalapa or Yakshagana, it exactly resembles the characteristics of what Bharata has explained in the Natya Shastra. And it is the only tradition you will find the Purvaranga Vidhi, what is explained in the Natya Shastra, totally, completely, truly followed in Kuchipudi dance tradition. The performance starts with the Purvaranga Vidhi. The instruments, Purvaranga Vidhi has 2 aspects, Antaryavanikangas and Bahiryavanikangas. Antaryavanikanga is all about the instruments coming, placing, tuning, all those things.